How to bake acorn squash. If you are curious about how to bake acorn squash, you are in for a treat. This delightful vegetable is not only tasty but also packed with nutrients. Let's get started on the steps to bake it perfectly. First, preheat your oven to a temperature between 375 and 425 degrees Fahrenheit. This range will give you flexibility depending on how crispy you want the squash to be. Next, take your acorn squash and cut it in half lengthwise, from the stem to the tip. Be careful while cutting, as the skin can be tough. Once you have halved the squash, scoop out the seeds and stringy bits inside. Now you have a couple of options for how to bake it. You can place the halves cut side up on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper for easy cleanup. Alternatively, if you prefer, you can slice the halves into pieces that are about half an inch to 1 inch thick. This will give you a different presentation and cooking time. After placing the squash on the baking sheet, drizzle or brush the cut sides with a healthy fat. Extra virgin olive oil is a great choice for a plant-based dish, but you can also use melted butter if you prefer. Lightly season the squash with salt to enhance the flavor. For an extra kick, sprinkle some herbs like thyme, basil, or oregano. A dash of garlic powder can also add a lovely flavor. If you want a savory touch, consider adding a small amount of Parmesan cheese. Now it is time to bake. Place the squash in the oven and let it bake until the flesh is tender. This usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes for the halves, or around 20 to 25 minutes for the slices if you are using the higher temperature of 425 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are baking the halves, covering them with foil during the first part of baking helps keep moisture in. You can uncover them toward the end to allow the surface to brown. Adding a splash of water to the baking pan can also help keep the squash moist. Baking acorn squash this way preserves its rich nutritional profile. It is a great source of fiber, vitamins A and C, potassium, and antioxidants. These nutrients support immune function, skin health, and digestion. Using olive oil instead of butter keeps your dish plant-based and heart-healthy. The herbs you add also contribute antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. Here's a practical tip. Save the seeds you scooped out and roast them separately. Just coat them lightly with olive oil and sea salt for a nutritious snack. If you have any leftover baked squash, store it in an airtight container in the refrigerator for several days or freeze it for longer storage. Baking acorn squash is simple and results in a flavorful, nutrient-rich dish that fits perfectly into a health-focused diet. Enjoy your delicious creation.